myself, and others are present. So item number 1 is request report on budget balances for the month of January.
Good afternoon, everybody, and we are going to start with the Child Nutrition Program. For the month of January, we received revenues of $4,359,000, expenditures of $3,693,000. So we have an excess of revenues over expenditures of $665,000. Then we have the general fund, and we have received revenue of $58,095,000. We had expenses of $42,600,000. So right now we have an excess of revenues over expenses of $15,495,000. Other transfer in or resources, $70,000. And so we're looking at a net change in fund balance of $15,565,000. We have received more revenues than expenses, so it's looking good.
So our current fund balance is,
Starting fund balance is $37 million, only for the general fund, $419,624. The debt service fund had revenues of $6,597,000, expenses of $1,500. So right now we have an excess of revenues of $6,595,000.
okay. So next, item number 2, discuss report on tax collection for the month of January.
I forgot to mention that the reports that you were missing are in the red folder that I did. And the tax collections report is one of them. So it's the second handout. So tax collections for the month of January, we had M&O and INS of $6,910,000, delinquent $127,000, penalties and interest of $87,000, other collections 41, so total collections were $7,166,000.
The delinquent is
127,000.
All right, item number 3, discuss report on monthly check register for the month of January. You know, this one is as an aside. At the previous board meeting, I believe we discussed the expenditures we made on the energy savings program. But what we haven't heard is how much it saved us money. So we haven't had like a formal report on how much money. I know that the initial report was it had surpassed expectations of the savings that we had achieved, right?
Right. I know that Mr. Bill Savarino sent an email with the annual report, so we will provide that for you.
Like this month?
Yes.
You know? $17,000 John Deere, revised equipment.
What picture?
So on page 6.
That's the, I know that maintenance spot machinery, for that to come.
You want that? Item 4, discuss report on tentative budget calendar 2020-2021.
Yes. The beginning of the budget process is upon us once again, and in an effort to properly plan and coordinate this endeavor, attached is a copy of the 2020-2021 budget calendar. Timeframes have been set to ensure that the budget process will be completed on a timely basis. Changes to the calendar will be made on an as-needed basis. And you will see there that we have provided 2 calendars. One is for fiscal year from July 1st to June 30th, and that's because we are submitting again a request to change the year. So if it is approved, we will go ahead and go by that calendar. And we have also submitted a calendar for the fiscal year September 1st to August 31st. So based on whatever decision is made during the board meeting, we will be following one of those 2 calendars.
Can you give us a synopsis again of what are the codes of our suggestions?
Yes, and we have that item on the agenda, so we will cover that in that, next time.
Oh, is it the next one?
I don't know if it's the next one, or unless you want to go to that item.
Can we skip to that one? Since we're already.
Item
Item
12.
number 12. Okay. So,
We didn't get to, they didn't explain it here,
we didn't really, I don't think we really kind of went through specifically what the.
because it was like right away. We didn't get the chance to
Discuss it, but I can hear about it.
The reason I rescinded this item is because we want to be able to explain, the pros and cons. Well, basically the pros of, moving the fiscal year. And I think that we need to share all those numbers with you so that we can see the advantages and how our district can have a great impact on financial revenue.
So item 12, we are recommending and proposing to change the fiscal year from September 1st, starting date July 1st. And so the start date of the fiscal year will be July 1st of 2020. And I'm going to start going over the advantages. And the first one is aligning of the fiscal and academic years. Basically, school begins before September 1st. So campuses do not have the funds available from the old budget towards supplies for the new school year. The campuses have to wait until September 1st, until the budget is adopted, so that they can start using those funds. If we change it to July 1st, their funds will be available because the budget would have already been adopted by that time.
So the funds will be available in July
Right.
to purchase for
For-
the teachers and all.
Yes.
Rather than September 1st,
Right.
which we've already been in school
For about 2 or 3 weeks. Another advantage is facilitating teacher retention and recruiting. And basically, the district will now be able to recruit teachers based upon salaries and benefits, which are already part of the budget. Because again, the fiscal year will start July 1st. The school year doesn't start until August, so now those salaries that you will be paying those teachers will already be part of that budget. So the startup expenditures for new programs occur again from the appropriate budget, and we don't have to be covering from the old budget to cover for the new fiscal year or school year. And again, the programs can once again begin earlier in the academic year instead of waiting until November or October once they have the funds available. They can start earlier. We can also improve the campus involvement in the budget process, because now administrators will have their funds available. They will be here during the budget process, and they will have an input as to how they want to allocate their budgets. Also, we will be aligning the majority of the federal programs with the fiscal year. Grants have a start date of July 1st, and they run through September of the following year. So once again, the funds for that new grant will be available even before school starts. We will also have greater flexibility with the external audit staff. Many school districts are still on a September 1st, so now the auditor will have more time to focus in the district and help us with any issues that we might have. And finally, and we believe that this is the most important one, while we change it to July 1st, we will only be recording 10 months of expenses for this year, because we will be cutting the fiscal year short. Instead of ending August 31st, we will finish June 30th. So basically, we would have already received all the revenues from the state, which are based on current year ADA, and we will be cutting short on the expenses. So basically, we will be recording only those expenses, so basically we will be having a savings at the end of the fiscal year. So in looking at the numbers from 2019, from the last fiscal year, we are looking into saving close to $6.7 million. So it all depends on how, if we have more expenses, if we decide to go and do other things, but we're looking at 6.7, more or less,
And again,
based
this
on
is-
last year's.
And again, this is a one-time savings.
Right.
Because we shorten the existing year, and then we start the new year 2 months before. So those 2 months of expenditures will be a savings to the district. And it's about $6 million. And that is key for our district revenues. I think that the intent for us is to try to recover some of our expenses and be able to balance our budget. At the same time, try to offer more programs at the elementary, like the fine arts and the, including band and sports. Utilizing the money, the one-time savings to buy instruments for the bands at the elementaries, hire band directors at the elementaries, so that our elementary students can be afforded those same opportunities that middle school and high school students have.
In other districts.
And other districts. I think we lack in the fine arts, and I think we need to bring it back.
And the way we calculated the 6.7 million is that we looked at the expenditure reports for the months of July and August, and we expended $11 million, $11,132,000. And basically what I did is that I subtracted functions 11, 12, and 23, which are basically your teachers, librarians, and school administrators, which we have to pay through the end of June. So those expenses total $4.3 million, so we took the 11.1 less the 4.3, so that's how we came to an estimate of $6.7 million. Any other questions?
So basically, these funds are earmarked for programs for the schools and working towards balancing our budget, right? Is that our general plan with these additional funds?
Correct. Improve our elementary and provide elementary campuses the fine arts, and also help us with one-time expenditures that if we have more air conditions that need to be replaced. I know water fountains are a great need in a lot of the campuses. At least it will help us improve our, improving our facilities for our children.
And just for the general public, this will have no effect on our upcoming budgeting year, correct?
Right, because we will be budgeting for
For
the
that
whole year.
No, we've got a big pass.
Yes. That's the part of it. Okay, so we'll go back now to item 5, right? Discuss district staff data accounts for the month of January.
Okay, so employee count. So for January, we had a total of 1,941 employees, and compared to the prior year of 1,998, we have a decline of 57 employees. Then we have the overtime expense reports, and for December, whatever was worked in December and paid in January, we had overtime expense of 107,000, and compared to last year, for that same month, we're down $18,953. And for the year, September through December, we have saved $182,000.
How much?
$182,000. Substitute expenses for work done in December, we've had $183,000 compared to the prior year of $208,680. So we're down, or we've decreased the substitute expense by $25,166 for that month. And through the year, we've saved $114,000.
These substitutes you're talking about are teachers or just all?
Teachers, and then we also have the permanent staff working for the pre-K 3 and maintenance, I believe.
One-to-one.
And food service as well.
And then we have one-to-one students with special ed programs as well.
And in the reports that I provided on the work folder, you can see whatever came out of general fund, and that's all we can do. And food service.
So, and in general, because we had a couple of items that were geared towards like substitute expenses.
Right.
Can you give an overview, because I know you haven't, I don't think you had one last time. But can you explain a little bit about the initiative we had for benefiting the teachers so that we can kind of reduce the expenses for substitute?
That one is here too. That item is included in the agenda.
I am so wise. Which one is that? Which item is that one?
I'm sorry.
Can we jump to that one, the substitutes?
Okay.
The initiative? The STAR.
Oh, the STAR.
The STAR, can we talk about that one since we're here?
You okay, Jenna?
Yes, so that's item
Okay, so
15.
Item 15.
So on item 15, ladies, thank you for being here. On item 15, we're looking at the STAR. This is a super teacher attendance reward, and like we mentioned at the committee and the board meeting, the primary objective here is to have our teachers in class, learning increases. So what Ms. Gatsa thought was, I guess, I don't know, I'm not a finance person, but I'm thinking you redirect funds from substitutes to the actual teacher as an incentive. So instead of paying out a sub, you're going to redirect that money back to the teacher as an incentive. So there's no new monies involved, no new funds. We did have a budget amendment, reason being that we wanted to play it safe to make sure that this initiative was done mid-year, so we could have that money ready if there was an increase. So again, the objective was to have teachers in the classroom. All the research tells you that teachers there, students will learn. You're a former principal, as well. So, and with that being said, you're playing, in lack of a better word, house money. It's already there. We're just redirecting it back to the teacher for as an incentive. And that's the super teacher achievement or attendance reward. Just this semester, 1 to 5 absences, we've had 375 just this semester. I'm sorry, the first semester from August to December. 375 teachers were out, 1 to 5. 5 plus, we're looking at 305. That's August to December. Total absences through the district, and we're talking about 800 teachers. We're looking at 680 absences total. So again, it goes back to the primary objective. If they're here, the kids will learn. And we're not speaking ill of substitutes. We do have great substitutes, former retired teachers, subs that do a great job. However, these teachers have been, and I'm crossing the line here, but a lot of these teachers have been, we've invested in their learning as far as their staff development, yes. So they're here, they're specialists, and that's the whole point of this stuff.
And so how does it work? Like, where are the monetary
Sure. So
breakdown?
what Ms. Garza wanted was to give these teachers opportunity of first semester and second semester. Now, obviously, first semester is gone, so they have a shot at the second semester at $500 for perfect attendance.
So it wouldn't go back to the first semester?
Correct.
It would just start?
It would be a fresh start.
And if approved, we wanted to give a little grace period so the principals could funnel out that information to the teachers and say, starting, right.
Yeah. Once it's approved, then we can.
And it'd be a one-time payment, which is huge.
In working with Ms. Robles, I asked her for information from last year. And it was an eye-opener to see that in the first semester last year, we had over 500 teachers absent at an average of 6 days. And then the second semester, we had even a greater number of absences, 568 teachers absent. Out of 750 teachers, that is an alarming number of teachers being absent more than 5 days. So there is a need for us to acknowledge that we need our teachers present in our classrooms. I know there are situations that occur, but to have that massive number of teachers absent, I think that we need to invest in them. This money, again, as mentioned, was money that we are already spending on substitutes. It's not money that we are going to have to, set aside for additional spending. That money is being spent right now. And I'd rather invest that money in the teachers because they are the direct impact to student achievement. And I would urge the board to reconsider because I think that the only way for us to have success, greater success, is to make sure that our teachers are in our classrooms. And so we failed to share this data last time, and I think that this data is crucial, for clear understanding and the purpose of this initiative. So we will provide this information thoroughly to the board members during the board meeting, and so in hopes that, there is a reconsideration.
Thank you.
How much can a teacher make more a year?
Out. And the beautiful part is you're looking at it one time before,
Christmas.
winter break, yes, Christmas, and the summer experience. Which is great times they do with the kids, yes, exactly.
Thank you,
So
sir.
we're going with $500?
First semester.
We're discussing.
Oh. Okay, so next is tax refunds for the month of January.
Tax refunds for the month of January total $2,596.
So next, donations to Rio Grande City CISD, January 2020.
Donations for January 2020 total $22,150. Rio Grande City High School received $500 from Prestige Home. Rio Grande City CISD received $20,000 from Wyatt Ranches Foundation. And we will be having a special presentation of the check to the district on this coming board meeting. Alto Bonito received 11 backpacks with school supplies from Grace Point Church. Gruya High School received $750 from Yolanda Loring. And Early College received $900 from Jose and Minerva Guerra.
Item number 8. Discuss budget amendment number 2020-3.
We have a budget amendment 2020-3, and this is basically the campuses or departments asking to change funds from one function to the other. We are also adding $787,000 for the buses that were recently approved to be purchased, which will be funded or through leasing. And we've also added 200,000 for the maintenance department, because we're running short on funds for that function. And we want to make sure that if we have an emergency on HVAC or other departments, that we will have enough funds for that department.
How long are the leases that we have? For how long? How long?
3 or 4 years, it all depends.
How many? It was
Eight buses.
That's the largest number we've got.
8 buses, 1 special ed bus, including the 8.
And what are we gonna do? Are we still gonna try to do the Wi-Fi with the buses in certain communities? We talked about that, right?
Yes.
Well, only the other thing about the programs they were saying about the registration for people who maybe don't have Wi-Fi, and that'll help.
That is, we can trace that out, software program, those computers too.
Okay. Item number 9, discuss application of Vega Solar LLC for an appraised value limitation on qualified property. Authorize the superintendent to review the application for completeness and submit to comptroller, and authorize the superintendent to enter into any agreement to extend the deadline for board action beyond 150 days, subject to board ratification.
Item 9 and 10 will be presented until the March board meeting. The representatives were not available to come during this coming board meeting, so
So we're kind of tabling those for now? Okay.
Well, we got placed on the,
Agenda is on. Is there anything we need to know?
no. This is a new company,
Okay.
so it will be a new agreement.
Okay. Alright. Item number 11, discuss requisition 5,000 and over in 12-month aggregate.
And you have an update if you use the red book.
It's an addendum or update?
No, update.
Okay. All right. Then we jump to 13, discuss amendment of TASB localized policy CE legal, annual operating budget.
Basically, this one is related to changing the fiscal year start date. So if it does go through, we will be updating the local policy, CE. So, and that's the only change, we're changing the date.
Item number 14, discuss early notification, resignation, and census plan.
So with this item, we did bring it to the board, the committee. Just for discussion purposes, I guess if the budget for the year is $1.83, if I'm not mistaken, 84 cents is paid towards personnel. That means people's salaries. So that gives you 17 cents or 12 cents to run the district, which is difficult.
Which is 8%, right about, right,
Yes.
the low rate.
Exactly. So, of course, you have your federal funds and all these kind of block grants, but those don't alleviate the general fund, which, since Ms. Garcia came in, she's been very clear about lowering the deficit. So by lowering the deficit, you have to target personnel. And I will be in an agreement type of way. I mean, cost. So what we're saying is, we have to alleviate that 82%. One of the ways that we've talked about is bringing the early notification resignation program. What that does is it gives individuals who've been with the district 20 years, 5 years with the district, with our district, if it's a 30% of the base salary, to have an early resignation. That gives them an opportunity, if they want to retire, that's up to them, or want to live somewhere else, that's up to them. But it also gives the district an opportunity to save personal costs if there's a position you can close by attrition, something you don't have to replace. And if it's needed to replace, then you're bringing somebody into a new position at a lower pay because they're starting that position. So with 0 years experience. So somewhere you're going to save. And what we wanted to do is begin the first part of that mechanism is the survey to find out if we could afford it, both financially and personnel-wise. We don't want to lose key people. And I believe the board meeting, we mentioned the math teachers, the science teachers, that'd be difficult to handle. At that point, if we feel as administration that we can afford it, both monetarily wise and personnel wise, then we come to the board for approval and ask to continue this. I feel the process right after that, if we do get the blessing from the board the second time, that's the big, what we call the enrollment period for people who qualify. They really have to think about this. I mean, you're talking about individuals who've been here 20 plus years, it's hard to part ways. You know, for a lot of us, this is our family. This is all we know. So it gives them time, it's about 30 days for them to think if they want to do it or not, okay? So that time is very important. And we want to offer our employees that 30-day period. At that point, individuals who do want to go through it and say, this is my last, I'm going to go ahead, then come back to the board and have these individuals approved, and then the payout is in June. So it's a very strict timeline for good reasons. And again, the whole objective of this program is to target the 83% payout, which is tied up. That dollar is 83 cents, so that dollar is tied up, which is, I think best practice is 75, 78, what they're recommending, if I'm not mistaken. So,
Never been close, so I don't know.
right. And that's, but the minus 57 is promising employees.
How would that help with the change of, budget? Would that help a little more as well?
Yes. We're planning on using those funds to pay out.
If we change the fiscal year and we had the savings of approximately, like Ms. Robles mentioned, $6 million, we could use those revenues to actually pay out the 30% without hindering our current fund balance. I think we're in a good position to do that. We have implemented this program before. It has been successful. I know that I was part of that program. And where, the process that we took gave employees an opportunity to think hard, also looking at their future. But I think the most rewarding is that they're able to leave with 30%, where the district is acknowledging the hard work and dedication and saying, we want you to know that you're appreciated, and this is a way that we can afford to provide some type of compensation for that dedication. We know that if we have a large enrollment, it's beneficial to the district. That's why these surveys are important. If we do not have a high number of enrollment, then it's not in the district's best interest. The idea is to make an impact in our financial status. That is one of the reasons I was hoping that the fiscal year change would be approved, because these other initiatives would be initiatives that we could implement and not hinder our budget, our budget balance, fund balance, excuse me.
And a lot of times the teachers or the people who hear about this, they want to know, okay, is this the year they're going to offer an incentive or not? They're constantly asking.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And so they make up their mind on that, okay, I'm not going to retire until that happens. And they've been asking.
And what I like your analogy, because sometimes when you're dealing with a district and a budget this size, it's kind of hard to understand what we're trying to say. But when you use the analogy that 83 cents of our dollar, which is our largest expenditure, it goes to basically our staffing. And then we're basically trying to manipulate, is that 17 cents? So we're trying to budget 17 cents to make up for our deficit, right? And that just says that's impossible.
Exactly.
So we're gonna have to adjust that 83, and I like the idea that it is an incentive. We're not just saying we want to fix a problem, we don't care. We're saying this is the best way I think that we can do it,
And
respectfully.
Correct. And what was mentioned at the last board meeting, that we do have a $9 million deficit, and we cannot continue that route, because then we're going to deplete our fund balance, and we will not be able to meet state requirements of having 3 months of operating costs. I think this is the time for us to offer this initiative to not get to that point. We've done a great job. I can tell you that my staff has done an excellent job, all administration, in making sure that we do not spend more than what we need to, from buying food and luncheons and all kinds of stuff, you know, on a regular basis. I think that has been a huge impact, that we are not in those times when we can afford to do those kind of things.
Until then.
And so I would hate to get to the point where we would have to sit down and start talking about having to let go of some individuals. And that is the last thing that I would want to do. Because like Dr. Salinas mentioned, that's the livelihood of families. And for us to come at that point to let people know that they no longer have a job, when we could probably try our best to implement other initiatives to help, I think that would be the better route than to get to that point. So I'm hoping that with the new information that has come forth and the clear understanding that the board reconsider this initiative. It's in the best interest of our district.
That was on my side. There's Is there other, because I have a question, unless there's something under other. So, there were other compensatory kind of initiatives that we had for teachers that I think that we really didn't communicate well. Can we get a synopsis for that? Because I think we're revisiting this again on the agenda.
I went back and visited with my staff, and there was an urgency for impacting students' academic interventions for the special populations. And so we got together with principals and central administration, and they decided that we needed to move, and they channel their monies through tutorials. So we are still implementing these programs in a different capacity, but the money is being given to the teachers anyway. Not in the same type of plan that we had before, but they all agreed that this would be just as good. And so we did not bring back the Children Incentive Program back, nor the Special Ed Academy, nor the Migrant Academy. But the campuses do have an ability to do those Saturday camps through their monies, through the tutorial program. So their campuses got between 40,000, high school, I believe, was like 121,000, you know, to implement these programs through the tutorial program on Saturdays. And additional days that teachers would want to give up, you know, to address the intervention groups that we have to target. We have a list of about 250 kids that, very prescribed programs that it's still going to be done.
So there's a plan on what they're going to be.
Which was our option B plan.
I'm glad they still received it.
Yes, they did. Okay, principals are happy. And I'm sure more teachers will get an opportunity to even participate with the tutorial program. So it's extending more opportunities for more teachers to help out with the program.
Any other concerning? Thank you, everybody. It is 1:25. That concludes finance. Thank you.